What's up, y'all? Back with another episode of the Real Paint Talks of PSC. Got my man DW back in seat today, Donny Wong at Taking Lunch Money. How you doing, buddy?
What's going on, everyone? What's going on? I did so well the first one. I got invited back for the second one.
You will be back.
I'm going to get you to sign a contract soon.
Yeah, well, do what you got to do. But I got much love for this guy, so bringing him back, we want to talk about one thing that people have been reaching out to me a lot for recently is growth. Mm-hmm. The topic of growth keeps coming up to me. It seems like it's mostly guys that have already sort of been doing it, awesome. And now they're like maybe wanting to take that next step. So, like I said, everybody before, Donny, my homie here, has a wicked podcast, Cash Leads. He knows his game, so we're going to chat a little bit about this, get his opinion on it, and I will, give you mine and my experiences of kind of how I've grown and gone up and down through that, through the business aspects of it. So, really what I've been getting is, how do I grow? Top line, Donny, how do I go from, maybe one or two guys painting however much work to getting more work, getting more guys, and, growing the company, whether they want more trucks, more contacts. I'm not sure what they're planning to do with that, if it's making, more extra time for them to vacation or whatever. But so in my opinion, I think it comes down to money. What do you think? What do you think is a big deal?
Money is definitely going to be up there. My first checkbox I always go for is systems. I always try to automate first. So automate everything, all the small tasks that I shouldn't be doing anymore. And so a good friend of mine told me when I was really in the midst, because every entrepreneur who starts their business, man, that first year is crazy.
I heard it's usually about 3 years before people really start seeing anything, right?
I would agree with that, and at different phases. And it depends. If you're jumping into something pretty, or here, more importantly, if this is the first business that you're actually building yourself, that first one's a doozy. Because it doesn't matter if you're the greatest salesperson, the greatest painter. Maybe you were the country's best painter at your company, and you think you can do it all, so you hate your boss. That first year when you start your company, man, you get a reality check.
Yeah, reality check for sure.
Totally.
So say if it's someone that's already been at, say, 10 plus years, and they've been just kind of plateauing a little bit, just, staying on the flat line a little bit. How can they grow using what you're saying, like systems? So does that mean stepping back a little bit from the hands-on work and going in different areas to help get more leverage, get more work, get more people?
You nailed it.
Yeah,
you nailed it. Exactly. Those are great examples of exactly how you grow. But the easiest, fun little quip to remember is to work on your business, not in your business. So working on your business would be, okay, how do I get new software that can help scale out my abilities? If you're still doing a lot of things from pen and paper, what software can I use that when I'm talking to a client, I can zip something to them right away?
Right.
How can I automate all my accounting through something like QuickBooks Online? How do I build a sales funnel to not just receive leads, but to also process payments? How do I get the right people? So that's an example of technological scaling, getting the right people on board. So this is what's really scary for first-time entrepreneurs, is hiring people that don't just do the job, but administrative, right? The person that answers the phone,
right?
Down to if you're, say, in an emergency service, say plumbing or something like that, the dispatch.
Right.
Dispatch is so huge that and it takes a huge part of entrepreneurs' time, because you're the only one that understands all those nuances of business, which plumber, which painter should be assigned to which job, how many hours, what's the debrief they need. But just examples of scaling.
Yeah, I tell a lot of people that too, that everybody has their place, right? So, but how do you actually do that? Like with me, I'm still the old school guy.
Yeah,
I'm still the pen and paper guy.
Yeah.
I'm still the control freak sort of to the max, only because, like you say, it's super particular sometimes on what I'm doing and what I'm dealing with when it comes to clients. So it's hard for me to just back away from that.
Totally.
And there's been chats about it online, and I've, piped in and listened and read some stuff. I find it very hard to do that.
It is.
I cannot do that yet. having somebody answer the phones and all that, maybe. But I think it comes down to the next thing that a lot of guys, especially people that I'm reaching out to that might be listening to this, how do they do that for free?
How do you do that for free?
Well, really, that's what it comes down to. Because then it's like, okay, well, there's one more person that you need to either schedule in, hire, and pay, and then have them do another aspect of the job for you. If you're not completely making, like, say, for example, you're like, okay, I'm hiring this person to do this for me. I'm going to go do this. You're not really going to see a return on that right away, are you?
I hear you. Well, what I would say is, I think when we're talking about scaling, you might not want to think about free. Whereas last week we were talking about, kind of beginners. Beginners, you want to bootstrap and you want to keep it for free. To all the people out there who have companies that are, doing well and you've been able to create something out of nothing and feed your family, feed yourself, and feed your employees, man, kudos to you, because you have actually understood how to play the game. Now, when we talk about scaling, we don't want to think in terms of free. We want to think in terms of how do I grow? And so when you say that, when we invest or hire someone, we don't see an ROI immediately as if we would getting more jobs or getting more painters to finish the job faster. Therefore, we can do more jobs and expand our bandwidth.
And ROI, return on
investment.
There you go.
Bingo.
Okay. Just in case you don't know.
Totally. And return on investment is, what do I get back for what I put in?
Absolutely.
Right. So it could be, if I put in 8 hours of work, and I make $17 an hour, let's do 10, I don't do the math. Boom, I made $80 today.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's my return. Now, if we're going to talk about investment, say I put out $100 worth of paint, but I finished this job for $900.
Yep.
My ROI is 9x
Absolutely.
or $800 at the end of the day. Now, when we're talking about scaling, what we want to do once again is really think about working on the business and not in the business. We just talked about on the business. In the business is you in there painting, directing, hands-on, right? You're on the tools. Now, when we bring somebody on, now if you're the boss, if you're the quarterback, if you're the entrepreneur who's running everything, on the business means you need to stop doing the little things.
Yep.
And a good friend of mine, back when I was struggling with the first company, she said, Donny, think of your time as you make $500 an hour. That's what you have to value your time at. Now, if the task you're doing is not a $500 an hour task, it's actually a $15 an hour task, you need to instantly delegate that to somebody else. That's one way of thinking about it. The other way that I scale, these are basically the two ways that personally, just to keep it simple, because I'm not an MBA kind of guy.
No. And neither am I.
Right.
And neither am I. So that's why a great thing about this show is that the reason, guys, I like to have somebody like my good buddy Donny on here is because he's sort of sitting in say if somebody messages me, they're probably coming to me with questions on painting, and I want to give them the best advice, but I also want them to have a view from someone like you. Is also like, oh yeah, I don't know anything about painting, but I do know how to help you scale.
100%.
Right? So, tell me more about that in terms of like how it can help.
Yeah. So I think the big thing is we just went over an example of how to scale on, say, software side. The other way is to hire is, on the ROI.
Bring someone
the
in.
Second place that I really focus on is, where am I the weakest at?
Right. So that kind of goes with like bring in somebody to help you with something that you might not be as strong at, to really help you focus on your strength.
Yeah. And if we're just going to pick the lowest hanging fruit, because look, we're entrepreneurs. We don't have war chests of cash that we can just go berserk and, play the ball where it lands. What we want to do, for me, is I hire for exactly where I am the absolute weakest at.
Right.
And for me, that's numbers. I'm the sales guy. I'm the enthusiastic guy. I'm the face. I can go out there and get business. I can close the deal. I can show them the vision. I can even hire people. But when you tell me to do the accounting and, do the month's end, I just glaze over.
Yeah.
I glaze over and my brain just self-destructs.
I'm the same. So what I like to do, what I did was just like you said, and one point I wanted to make with that, at least with what I'm doing and what other guys might be doing, is what I was kind of going to say is disposable or disposable labor. I know that sounds kind of like harsh, but what I found that worked the best for me was being able to hire people that it didn't have to keep 100% full time. So the contract basis kind of worked a little bit better. Because, guys, the way I was growing and scaling was hiring people when you have the work, when you don't have the work, laying them off is harsh, right? So it's
contract work.
It's part of the
nature
game.
of contract
But
work.
with the contract work, it's more they know, okay, well, I'm going back to this. I'm here for this much time. This is the job I have. Boom, there you go. As opposed to hiring people on a payroll, having like this big group. I found the contract work really helped well with that, right?
Absolutely. And you know what? That also spans to every aspect of your business. Because for me, I know I'm not contracting out the labor as in painters, but I contract out the marketing. I contract out my SEO. I contract out my photographer, my video team, until they prove that they are so invaluable. And then the crossroads, they are so invaluable. Plus, we've created so much momentum on that one avenue. So in my case right now, it's content. So I've been working with the photographers and videographers, but to the point now where we need content to really serve our audience. So now eventually, now that those team members have showed that they're so invaluable, they understand how to deliver my brand, and they show up all the time. Then they win the full-time position.
Absolutely.
With me, right?
Absolutely. So then on the painting side, for folks listening, it would be finding the right people to help you do the jobs that you might not have that time for now, because you might be trying to bring more work in. Maybe now you're supervising more. So maybe now you need to bring the people in to help do these other jobs, right?
Bingo.
And so that's really helped me. But then it comes down to, how do you pay them all? So I wanted to ask you, because this is really the one thing that always stood out for me in trying to grow is what I call leverage, or having bankroll, right? Do you think that really does come before, obviously, maybe we jumped the gun in hiring somebody? Do you really play it on, okay, well, I could possibly have this job, or okay, like I got, this much work, now I should hire? Because a lot of guys that are reaching out have sort of already been in it already, maybe 10 plus years, or maybe they're in it for 5 years and they want to scale to they want to double, right, their return. Do you think it really does come down to bankroll? I found it because I want to know what you think about that, because I got a couple of points that I want to bring up, and let's see how you think about it. But do you think it's really important? Do you think so? Do you think it can be small, or do you really have to have a big chunk of cash to have some leverage to move?
I recently reached out to a couple mentors and peers who I really admire for their business sense and how they've conducted their business. And I like to ask people in different industries, just like you. That's why it's incredible that you bring a non-painter on.
Yeah, sweet.
But that's the best part, because if I ask a whole bunch of different entrepreneurs, I get examples and I see how they're using that tactic in their industry.
Right.
So when I asked this question, it was just a week ago too. I'm like, hey, listen, do you hire first, or do you make sure you have the cash and the sales first?
Yeah.
And you know what? The majority of the answer was always get the sales first. When you have the sales, you can always hire after. But I think that also comes down to just the type of, what's your personality and your appetite for risk. Because some people, they need a fire lit under their ass and their back against the wall before they play the best. And,
I can see that.
Right? And it's kind of like when anyone who's ever had a child on the way, that urgency makes you work like an absolute animal.
Definitely.
Because it's do or die. And some people do work better do or die.
Yeah, I found in my industry, it's really hard to find the right help.
I think every industry.
Yeah, maybe right now for sure. But that's hard, because I think right now we do have a lot of the sales. We have a lot of work to keep going. And I've been looking too deep, because I found it's been a little bit of a waste of time. Maybe I'm not reaching out to the right places, but maybe it's the industry too, the trade world. Guys are, I don't know, maybe people don't want to do it anymore. I don't know, but it is hard to find the right kind of help. So that can be really hard, I found, in trying to grow. That's crippled me, actually. Not crippled me, but it's slowed me down, I'd say.
That's with a lot. I think every single business owner understands that the hardest part is finding good people.
Yeah.
Finding good people, finding the right people and keeping them is very, very tough.
Well, I had about anywhere from 5 to 10 guys. And I found that when I did all the math and I looked at it in the end, after all the jobs, did it really make more? I don't know if I did, actually, to tell you the truth, right? Because I was like, do I really want all these grunts, or would I really rather hire skilled tradesmen and pay them a little more? You know what I mean? And then hopefully get a better return on that. Because I think a lot of people, what they're going to think when they're first trying to grow is like, just get help, hire them. Maybe they're cheap, whatever it may be. But I found over time that did not work.
You get what you pay for.
You do get what you pay for. But do you think that it's, okay, well, there you go. Do you think it's wiser to find someone, hopefully they want to stay, groom them?
Yeah.
Or as opposed to find somebody who's maybe already done it for 5-6 years? And like, what do you think? That's a big question for me.
It all comes down to, for me, for hiring, it all comes down to, are you coachable and what's your attitude?
Yeah, that's mine. That's my big one.
Right.
So if they want to learn.
Yeah, exactly. Because if you're not coachable, well, you can't work here. Especially if you have the tenured painter. Because the older they are, the less they want to listen. Right.
True enough.
But if they're coachable, that swings it completely different way.
Yeah.
And the coaching is simple for those guys who are very interested in this conversation. There's a coachability index. And the coachability index is basically, the coachability index just says your willingness to learn and your willingness to change. So a lot of people out there are willing to learn. They're hungry for new information. So let's just say you walk in a new job, you're willing to learn from your new boss. You're willing to learn from someone, say like Danny here, who's a specialist, but you're not willing to change. So let's just say on a scale of 1 to 10, you love learning. You're a 10 out of 10. But when they ask you to do something different, you don't. You always fight your boss or you just do it your own way. Your willingness to change is 0 out of 10. So now your score is 10 and 0. 10 times 0 is 0. Your coachability index is 0. You're not coachable. So you can't work here.
Right.
So that's one thing I look at. And then attitude, as we both know, is...
Yeah, attitude's a big one.
Do you show up and want to work?
Do you want to?
Because I think a lot of, especially employees, they feel like the company or the company owes them because they show up from 9 to 5. So therefore, you owe me my pay. You owe me this.
You still got to put in, man.
Not only do you have to put in, you have to come in and show, like,
well, if you want to grow.
Employees just don't get it. They don't get that, how much risk the owners put in. The risk that they put in, the amount of hours that they actually put in to create this job for you. Right. So that's the attitude part. If you don't show up and you actually want the work, well, guess what? There's 3 billion more of people who don't want to work.
No, definitely. That's true. But do you think that even still, like, because I've done that. Mm-hmm. Listen, man, there's a door.
Yep.
You know, but how many times are you going to do that?
Until the right one comes through.
Oh man, Isn't that a pain, right?
Man,
that's a ton of work right there.
It's a ton of work, but once you get the right one, they can change your entire business.
Absolutely.
Business is so similar like sports, as in you run a sport franchise.
Yep.
And just like any sport, once you get that one superstar, it completely changes the landscape of your game. When you draft Leo Messi, your entire fortune has changed.
Yeah.
When you draft LeBron James, your entire team changes.
Definitely.
And, you know, maybe you might be a bust for 27 years in sports terms.
Definitely.
But when you get the star, everything changes.
Yeah, everything will change, I think. Yeah, it's finding the right people. Mm-hmm. And everybody has their place. Sometimes it's not always the guy that you want to be like you that's going to, you know, sometimes you just need help. Right?
Yeah, most of the time, that's none of them.
Yeah, true enough. Very true enough. So a little recap then. So, you know, implementing the systems is one good way to grow, and whether that's you stepping away and hiring people to help you do the job better, right? But maybe having a little bit of leverage in your pocket, some bankroll to help you, or waiting until you've made these sales, get the sales, save some cake, hire the people to help you take on the task, right?
Totally.
So with that being said, what are some other systems you think, man, that could really help one person, you know, entrepreneur, tradie, whatever it may be, take their business to the next level and grow? Because that's really what a lot of people have been asking me, which was the point of, you know.
Yeah, I think one of the things that a lot of people look past is their own personal system, if you will, which I really just mean by that is just tightening up their own protocol, their own schedule. And I guess the best way to phrase it is that nowadays the modern athlete is the modern businessman or businesswoman, right? Especially if you're an entrepreneur, you treat it like a sport, and that's the sport of business or the sport of money, however you want to do it. Whether you're an entrepreneur, a hustler, an entrepreneur, an employee, whatever, you should still play the game like an athlete. And so what I mean by that is, you know, wake up early with the intention to take the day on as if you're winning a championship. Train and eat healthy because you only have the one machine where you play the sport with. And entrepreneurship is the only sport that you play 8 to 14 hours a day, nonstop, relentless, every single day with no sleep, because the sport of business never sleeps. And 100%. The sport of business is the only sport that's played 365 days a year, 24 hours a day across the entire planet. It's the only thing that's equal. It doesn't matter if you're a man, woman, gay, straight, trans, black, purple, white, polka dot. It doesn't matter.
Yep.
Right? You have kids if you have a business, there's a kid who's 13 years old across the planet who's developing something to kick your ass. And I didn't come up with that. Mark Cuban uses that example.
No.
But it just touches down so close because the example is so crystal clear. And so the big thing I always find is that the easiest way to do business is really to take care of yourself first and treat yourself like the competitor that you are. And so having a morning routine, absolutely critical, because in our company Boost, we've studied hundreds and hundreds of peak performers, top performers, world leaders, athletes, CEOs, speakers, thinkers, whatever you think of. And it comes down to like chefs, anyone who's in the top of their class, top of their game. And the things that you start kind of noticing is that there are similarities that stretch across all crafts, arts, and performances, and that is high performance habits. Those are all the same, right? The discipline, the sacrifice, the studying of the game, being able to focus, not just for a long time, but also to focus on exactly what's in front of you, being able to execute at a high level. And all those things eventually lead into the higher level talents, right? Which is like creativity, things like awareness, things like where you eventually get into flow state, where you're literally you're performing the task at such a high level unconsciously. You're literally unconsciously competent and so good. And there's actually science that backs all this, right? When you're actually in flow state. Yeah, your brain releases the 5 neurochemicals like serotonin. I can't name them off the top of my head, but it's the exact same 5 chemicals that the top 5 drugs release, right? Like marijuana releases amandamine, cocaine releases serotonin, I believe, whatever MDMA releases, heroin, and one other. But the exact same 5 chemicals that those release in your brain, flow state releases at 100x of what those drugs can do.
Really?
Yep. And that's why high performers are also the happiest for the most part, because flow state releases all those happy adrenaline, feel-y type of chemicals within the brain.
So flow state is when you're on the top of your game and you're performing and you're putting out without even you really having to do much. That's your flow state.
Bingo.
And that's like, say, having the best sex to doing the best drugs to living the happiest state in your mind. That's what you're kind of getting out of that flow state, right?
You got it. And so some athletes will call it, or musicians will call it, being in the zone.
For sure. Could see that as a musician myself, definitely.
Bingo.
I've even read other guys that when they're in that, they don't want to lose that zone. They'll keep going.
Bingo. And the zone could be, it could be having sex. It could be performance. You could literally be spraying the best wall you've ever sprayed. It could be something so minute, that simple little task, but you did it so well. It was so even. There's 0 lines. You did it faster than you've ever done it, more efficient than you've ever done it. It was the best wall you've ever done. Boom. And then you look up, you're like, oh, what the hell just happened? What time is it? Oh my God, did an hour really just fly by?
Yeah.
Those are all signs of flow state.
100%. And that really can be relatable even to painting, because it might not be exactly at that time. It does happen like that, like you say, but sometimes it's that flow state of when you finally back up and you see the overall and you're like, oh man, like that was effortless almost. It felt like, you know what I mean?
Bingo.
And it was enjoyable at the same time.
Bingo.
So when we're talking about that in terms of like a system that can help you grow your company, it really is developing yourself with the right habits in mind, right? That's really going to help, kind of. Hey,
you got it, because the better you do, the more energy, the more focus you'll have, the more present you'll be in your business.
100%.
Right? It's very hard to come to work as an athlete when your home isn't right. Everybody knows how hard it is to perform when you're fighting with your partner.
Absolutely.
It's tough.
Yeah, right? You're not focused. It's real tough. And if not, everybody knows, even if you're at the top of your game,
everybody knows how fast you can be rocked when there's critical illness in the family.
That too, yeah.
Boom,
Good
you're
example,
as
yeah.
good as you are, man. It takes away your focus.
It does.
Right? Your heart is in a different place, and so that's kind of the extreme examples to show what can distract you, and those are the extreme cases. We're not even talking about the people who aren't even taking their job seriously, like, you know, parentheses, air quotes, the 9-to-5ers.
Okay.
We're
Yeah.
literally there to check in and check out.
Check in, check out.
Their brain is not there. Like, they're doing the job, but they're not in any way applying themselves or trying to learn or master their craft. And so that's where we get that 9-to-5 syndrome, because you're not actually trying to do the job to improve the craft. You don't have to love the job, but you should love doing a great job. That's kind of the first switch to flip.
Well, I mean, I tell my kids that all the time. It doesn't matter what you're doing. Just try and take pride in what you're doing.
Bingo.
Be happy and do it well. Even sometimes it might not make you completely happy. Still do it well. Just make sure whatever you do it well.
Exactly.
You know, and that's always been my motto. But I think it is relatable, right?
Absolutely.
To the systems that can really help you.
You got it. Because high performance habits are the identical across anything.
Yeah. For me right now, the biggest one, energy. You know, if you don't have energy, you know, and I mean, I'm not completely out of shape. I'm not, but at the same time, you know, I'm sure we could all be physically at the top of our game if we really wanted to be. And that would probably, like you said, 10 times, you know, your production and whatever your output's coming out. Huge.
And I'll jump in right there, because I think the easiest way to talk about business systems is to relate it to the first system, which is, you know, your human body, which is really just a collection of systems, right? Yeah. Which is, you know, your central nervous system, your respiratory system, your endocannabinoid system, if you will, your reproductive system. Those are just many parts all working together to form one system. All the systems form together to create, or I should say, optimize the function of one of the greatest machines that took millions of years to evolve, which is our human body.
Yeah, absolutely. Good point.
Right?
Very
And
good point.
That's all your business
Yeah,
is.
treat yourself good, man.
All your business is just these tiny little parts.
We also started off with using the right back-end systems, like you said,
QuickBooks.
maybe QuickBooks or hiring or getting the people that you, if your strength isn't in numbers, then, you know, you might really hire a great accountant, right? Or do things like that that'll really help you on the back end. Those are great systems. But you're right. Before all of that, it's like you yourself actually have to go and make all this shit happen.
Bingo.
You know, so it really does come down to you yourself. But really, how do you think it could really help somebody in the paint world? You know, yeah, you can eat well, you can think well, because, you know, Brendan Burchard, not to name drop, but High Performance Habits, you said it. I read the book, and what was really cool about it was he was saying that this guy's doing the exact same as this guy. They could both be CEOs. But for some reason, this guy's just moving farther, a little bit faster. And why is that exactly? Why is it? And he's got the 6 steps or the 6 high-performing habits that set them apart, right? So what do you think it is, not to get too technical without having to read that book? Check it out, folks, if you guys want to.
Mine's actually in the mail on its way right now.
Oh, man, because I've been trying to read that book for a while, so I just got the audiobook.
Yep.
And just like this podcast, when I'm working away, it was in my ear, and it was awesome.
Yeah, right.
It was great. But he did explain a little bit, probably the same thing that, you know, some people might be asking themselves, well, yeah, that's great. Take care of my body, do this, do that. But how do I really get ahead and grow and use myself to grow? What do you think would be more something in depth? Like, yes, we take care of our bodies, but what would be kind of the next step into that? Would it be, you know, clarity, action? Like, what do you think? Like, because I think a lot of people are like, man, I do all that. I take, you know, I'm healthy. I take care of myself. I do have some business. I work hard. Wake up early. I go to bed like early. Do all the right things. But why am I still maybe?
Yeah, and that's simple. It's because clarity precedes mastery, right? So the big thing is that I think a lot of people confuse work with progress, right? Where they confuse action with progress. So you can literally do 8 hours and do nothing.
100. Oh yeah.
You can be busy.
If you've ever hired people and maybe the wrong people,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, definitely, 100%.
We've all had days where we're like, okay, we have a list, or even worse, you don't have a list. It's in your head.
Yeah.
So you got to go to the grocery store, you got to go to the mall, you got to go to drop off this, pick up this, whatever. And then it's 8 hours past, you come home, you don't have anything done. You're like, oh man, I actually ended up in the mall. I maybe ended up at Chapters for a little bit, grabbed a soda, went to Mr. Pretzel, didn't find it. So
Love
maybe I'll
Mr.
try
Pretzel.
another. Oh, it's so good. Talk about systems.
No doubt.
System is a brilliant system when 18-year-olds can run it, and you're crushing
no
it.
doubt, man.
But you get nothing done. And the whole thing was because there was no clarity from the get-go. So if we go back to high performance habits, clarity breeds mastery. And so the more clear you are on what you're trying to do, that is already the roadmap.
Absolutely.
So for instance, if you and I went on vacation right now, we're like, hey, let's get the hell out of here. We got some dough. Let's get out of here. The first question we'd ask ourselves would be, well, where am I going?
Yep.
Okay. Where am I going? Okay. Well, let's go to Italy. In fact, let's go to Sardinia. Seems pretty awesome. Sounds like a great place. The next question would be like, okay, well, when?
Yeah.
When do you want to go, Donny? I don't know, Danny. When you're free, or when do you want to be there? Let's be there for. Let's skip January 1st. Forget Canada Day. Let's go to Sardinia July 1st. Okay, awesome. So now we know where we're going. We know when we want to be there. The next question was, how are we going to get there? Well, here's the thing. You and I have never been to Sardinia before. You may have been to Italy. I may have whatever, but at least you and I know at least kind of the ways we would get there.
Yeah, for sure.
We'd probably hop on a plane. We could take a cruise there. When we land, we're probably going to find some way somehow. We're going to use the internet. We're either going to find the hotel, find some buggies, find a tour guide, whatever it is. We're going to start mapping it together. But the key here is we don't know what Sardinia is. We just know that we're going to figure it out and have a pretty damn good plan, as clear as a plan to get there, period. Now, here's the weird part, is that that's just planning a trip. But most people put way more effort into planning their trip than to planning their life.
Yeah.
So to answer your very first question of, okay, well, if we're going to go in depth of what people can do to really jumpstart the business, it's know where you're going. Once again, you don't have to love your job, but you have to love where your job is taking you. Where these 8 hours is taking you, you should know that.
For sure.
That's why you're putting these 8 hours. It's to get you to exactly where you want to go. Not to get all juju and weird woo-woo on this, but we are the only creatures on the planet with the divine gift of creation. No other species has ever existed on this earth where they can create something out of nature, outside of nature, outside of their intrinsic DNA, what they're programmed to do. None of them can. A beaver can make a dam. A shark can give birth to one little mini shark. Maybe an octopus can find a shell and use it, but nobody goes and takes wood, chops it, and turns it into a house.
Yeah, it's like the beaver didn't decorate.
No, we're the only ones.
Yeah,
so
sure
once you
enough.
kind of accept that, like, oh man. And Steve Jobs said this. He's like, the moment you understand that everything in the world was invented by someone no smarter than yourself.
Yeah, no doubt.
That you truly understand that, hey, we're just creators.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to really get scientific about it, okay, fine, let's get scientific about it. Is that humans, our biggest evolution that we ever got, it was the big brains, yes, but it was that we're tool makers. That's why we stand up straight. That's even the way our bones are made, that they're twisted in a ways for us to use tools. That's why we have the thumb.
Yeah.
But
there's not a lot of animals that do it.
No, monkeys.
Yeah, monkeys.
Use tools. I think they found a bird, one other bird figured out to use a stick
the monkey used a stick too. Yeah, that's pretty cool. But
we intrinsically in our DNA are tool makers and we're creators. So the big thing is, okay, well, decide where you want to go. And no matter how stupid it sounds or how big or how unrealistic, the fact is that
you just making that decision is really
exactly
the whole thing.
You get to choose where you want to go.
Absolutely.
You get to choose which trip you want to go on. We want to go in Sardinia. Some people will think that's the stupidest thing they ever heard. People who just heard you and I talk in the last 10 minutes are like, who the fuck wants to eat a horse meat sandwich?
Yeah.
I don't know, but some people probably do, and they can go and make it happen. So
Absolutely.
The very first thing to come full circle after this whole kind of crazy analogy is that you have to know where you're going. Because if you don't know where you're going, you're literally a ship that just casted itself off the coast with no plan.
Yeah.
The problem with that is when you don't know where you're going, the ocean starts throwing you around everywhere. And now it's like, oh, everything's so terrible. Now there's this wave and this
100%.
storm, or this sun is so hot, and oh, there's no this, no that. When it's like, if you knew where you were going, even if the worst storm came, when the storm passes, you just look back in your GPS and your map, like, oh, we're gonna UK.
Yep.
Adjust course,
Right,
keep on going. Is as long as we're alive, keep on plowing 100%. Towards that.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I definitely did that when it came to growing my business and my career. I had something in sights that I wanted and where I wanted the company to be. And like you said, I didn't care if I was doing the shittiest paint jobs at the time. I knew eventually I would get there, right? So, but it's taking that step, like you're saying, and like actually being like, okay, this is what I'm doing every day. Whether it's like you said, write it down in a book or write it down in your head, write it down in your fucking head. Doesn't matter. Just make sure you're doing it and trying to go and do it. One little thing I was thinking about that whole, do you think sardines came from Sardinia?
I think Sardinia came from sardines.
Yeah, maybe you're right.
But you know what, Danny? I want to get into this because if we're talking about systems, I want to at least share with the audience that there is systems to this. I'm not talking about some like, oh, I kind of know this, this same fluff, this feel good fluff. It's not that. There is a system to this. Clarity breeds mastery, so you have to know where you're going to go.
Yep.
The second thing you have to do is you actually do have to map it out. And so the big thing is you do have to write this down. I do notice that all high performers write it down. No one just writes it and like types it in. I really haven't met anyone yet that just types it in.
Maybe I'm arrogant or I'm cocky, but I'm always the guy that's like, I don't need to make that list. I don't literally need to write that list down. I am checking the list off in my head, but when it comes to like quoting or doing business, I write everything down by hand because this is just maybe it's off topic, but because I feel like I remember it way better
without a doubt
when I write it down.
Without a doubt.
So I like to write a lot of that stuff down, but it was you that actually said, take it that one step further, man. All that stuff that you say to yourself, yeah, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Write that shit down. And then maybe even give yourself a date and a goal, right? Because what does that do? What does that do, Donny?
Well, what it's going to do, first off, by writing it down, is you are tattooing it into your brain with feedback. It's not just disappearing once you type it and then you just, you lock your phone and it's gone. There's literally tactile feedback in the drag of the pen or pencil that's being transcribed. Your brain is actually in the feedback loop where your brain has to tell your hand what to write. You can feel the feedback through your hand and the pen and paper, which is then using all the systems in the brain to help you remember every single piece of it. You cannot swim without swimming. I cannot teach you to swim without you jumping in the water and doing the motions.
Good point.
So therefore, you are not going to remember this unless you write it down and actually bring it to life. And more importantly, you have to write it every single day. Because even though you did make your company and you did build it and you're super successful, not only that, you have a beautiful family and this dream house, but what happens when you're outside of what you're talented at and what you're intrinsically good at? Like when we start talking about the marketing,
well, that's just it, right?
Right. Then we have to write it down.
Well, because I think
so outside of our talent.
It is, and that's what I wanted to. Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt, but I did want to say that that's kind of how some people might take this information and use it because maybe you're doing just like me. You did well, you got there, and this and that. But that's why I started reading that High Performance Habits because when I really looked around, I was like, yeah, I was pretty successful, great life, great family, everything's great. But still sometimes I'm like, I feel like, not that I haven't accomplished anything, but I'm just like, I think there's something more here still. And then it's like I'm saying, so now it comes down to, okay, those other aspects of where I wanted to go. Like, yeah, I wanted to do this. Oh, but how do I do it? And then it's like you say, start writing it down, man.
Bingo.
Have goals. Get the clarity, right?
Bingo.
And that helped a ton, right? Because it just made me kind of set a goal for myself. But literally, like you said, it's almost like you're putting that energy out there as soon as you write it down.
Bingo.
Like literally.
That's exactly right.
Would you agree?
Right. You are exercising the memory in your brain by doing these little micro actions every single day. You and I are not going to get the Sardinia. That's not how it works. We don't just say, hey, we're going to go, and all of a sudden we appear there. It's not just some one giant action. It's actually all it is a series of really small micro decisions that we make that either gets us there or doesn't get us there. That's all it is.
So what do you think about the people who are kind of like, nah, let fate take its course and whatever happens. Like, I kind of feel like sometimes, sorry, baby cakes, but when I talk about my wife, when we go hiking, that's like, when we go hiking, I'm just like, okay, where are we going? She's like, okay, here's the spot. She gets us there and everything. But as soon as we get there, it's almost like, I was like, hey, did you check like the route? Like, where are we hiking here? Like, how long is it? Like, blah, 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 blah. And she's like, oh, no, it's all good. And then lo and behold, it's almost like every time we get out there and I'm like, this is like a 40K hike. Do we have enough water? Are we going to make it back? Are we going to lose daylight? And I'm just like, but she loves that.
Yeah.
She loves that. And she just says, no, like, let's just go and let life take its course.
Yeah.
I do feel like I have let that happen with my business, especially when it comes to getting work. I'm always like, something will come up.
Totally.
And so I don't want to stress to people not to put that out there.
Yeah.
Because I do feel like, knock on wood, that maybe somebody is watching me or maybe it's good karma. I don't know. But it won't help you grow your company in a professional way, I have to say. So for all the people that are like, nah, we'll just let it happen. Nah, it doesn't really happen.
Yeah. Luck is not a strategy.
Do you think it has to play, like it has to be in there somewhere a little bit? I think some people do get lucky. So, okay. So do you think people get lucky, or do you think they're really just good? Not even good, that they're really just putting out there really what they want back?
Okay. Yes and no. Are people lucky? Yes, of course. There's luck. It's just odds. That's all luck is at the end, right? What are the odds? If you beat the odds tremendously, then damn, you're really lucky, right? We've all hit a really lucky play. We're like, oh, I got no business winning that one, but I'll fucking take it.
Yeah.
But in the sense of, say, like your wife, she's not leaving it up to complete chance. This is an area that she's very familiar with.
Yeah.
It's something that she's very confident in. It's something she's had repeated multiple looks at this activity. It's something that she's very highly interested in.
Oh, 100%. Like, she is prepared, and that's what it comes down to. It comes down to just her being like, you got to let shit go, Danny. And I'm like, no, I just am the type of guy, like, like we've said before, polished. Like, no, I just got to know. I just got to know. And that actually, are you a Virgo, Donny?
I'm not a Virgo.
Virgo's kind of got this thing. I don't know if it's a control issue thing, but give me this mic. But that's, I think, one thing that really helped me with my company. So I'm not going to say like that I had to put in a lot, like over and above writing stuff down, because I'm already like that. But my point to all this, guys, is that you do have to put in the work. And Donny really helped me see that when it came to marketing, because it was like, okay, dude, write all the stuff down that you're trying to focus on, how you think it'll help your company, and then make some freaking dates, like actually set some deadlines for yourself, right? Because that's just the principles on everything.
There's something, and for those who are out there who, if you're still confused on it, I'm just going to throw this in here, because between when we first started taping until now, we've actually developed with Boost the Launchpad system. And so the reason why this is so clear is because not only that myself, I spent over a decade just trying to learn this, because a decade ago, I went through probably the biggest transition in my life, which was, okay, now we own this nightclub. Now I'm going to leave this nightclub and try and learn something completely new.
Wow.
And so for me, it was, well, I want to learn how to build a company. But not only that, I want to learn how to build $1 billion company. And so what I did was I moved away from home. I didn't know a damn thing. And I didn't know. I just knew that, okay, I just got to move so I can take this seriously. At least the first move I'll do is I'll give myself no choice whatsoever. No plan B, no fallback plan. You just got to go out there by yourself and just go figure it out.
And so only option is
burn
to
the ships, storm the beach. Yeah. And so all I did was, you know what? I'm just going to at least write this down. If I can at least write this down in a journal, I'll be able to teach this someday. And I have it because we're building the Launchpad system right now. I have the notebook. I'll show it to you.
I was gonna say, do you still have that
have
very first page?
And every single year I write in it. I write my goals and I try and figure. And it took me about 7 years even to figure out how to like accomplish my goals. Even just how to like accomplish my goals. It took me 10 years to even figure out how to wake up at 5 a.m. So all these little things I had to eventually figure out, like, okay, how do you build a habit? How do you make a habit stick? And then once that happened, okay, now I know how to make a habit stick. How do I accomplish a goal? How do I shift my life? Okay, I hit rock bottom. Okay, but I kind of figured out how to do the habit thing. So at least I can get myself back on track a lot faster.
Yeah.
And then what I figured out was a big secret that it's not about goals. It's about dominoes. And so this is something we do big in the course. And it's something that I actually figured out. I actually figured this one on my own, is that everyone sets New Year's goals. Did you know that 80% of all New Year's goals are completely gone by February?
I'd be like January 1st or 2nd, they're probably already gone.
Let's give them at least the benefit of the doubt that they blast into New Year gung-ho.
I didn't get on that. I never do every year because, like, probably exactly what you're saying. I just didn't feel like I needed it. I feel like every day was like that.
So here's the thing, though, right? There will come a time where you're going to be ready for your next big challenge. Once again, because you know, like, man, I kind of crushed this business thing out. But remember 15 years ago when you just first started painting and you weren't quite sure? You just knew, this is the means to the end and whatever.
Well, it's actually like you said, I was in a spot, because I was going to say, like, it took you 10 years to figure out how to wake up at 5 a.m. I just had some kids and, like, never slept, like, still says it. But like you said, it was like, there's no other option, right? So I didn't have it in my mind, like, oh man, what happens if I'm not successful as a painter? It was just like, hey, when I'm successful as a painter, but yeah, it was mind frame. But I also had different things on my plate that made.
Well, so this is actually, I'm glad we said, because this is gonna be the perfect segue into the domino, because the number one driver of success, or of you to chart your own success path, is A, set your goals, as we've said, write them down, but B is to set dominoes. And so the domino, what I've come up with, and we talk about this all in the Launchpad program, is we teach you how to find the one thing where if you did this one thing, it would ensure success in all the other things.
So it doesn't matter what it is?
Nope.
Even if it's just waking up early, brushing your teeth once a night?
Well, no, because if you wake up early, that doesn't guarantee success. It doesn't guarantee
success.
And
I think that's what some people are probably thinking, even if they're listening right now. They're like, yeah, so freaking what, right?
Yeah, so what? I wake up early. Yeah. But that's not it. So let me throw this at you. A lot of times people for their New Year's goals are like, well, I need to save money this year. I need to save money, right? They don't list how much. If they're going to say, I just need to save money this year. Okay, well, if they wrote good goals, they'd write something specific. So, okay, well, I need to save $1,000 a month. Okay, perfect. I need to save $1,000 a month this year. So now it's super specific. We know exactly where you're going. You're going to Sardinia. Your version of Sardinia now is you want to save $1,000 a month.
Yes.
So now you have the actual goal that you know exactly where. If I shook you awake at 3 a.m., what's your goal this year? My goal is to save $1,000 a month every single month this year.
I don't even have to think about it.
I don't even think about it. Now we have to set the domino. So the domino is, what's the one thing that if you did it, it would guarantee success. So, okay, well, what's the one thing you have to ask yourself that if I just did this one thing, it's not save money. Save money is too vague. So what's the next logical thing is, okay, we got to figure out where you're spending the money.
Yeah.
Where's all the money going? Usually if you're young, or you don't even have to be young, it's going to go in one of three places where the money's leaking. I'm not talking about bills, kids, food. It's going somewhere. There's somewhere that the money's going. Some it's eating out is actually the number one biggest one. You're eating out.
I could be guilty of that any day.
The second one is usually booze. You're usually going out or you're kind of boozing up.
The booza.
The booze. The third one is usually some sort of vice, like maybe it's fucking cigarettes, weed, whatever the heck it is.
Maybe it's purses.
Maybe it's purses, whatever it is.
Shoes. Doesn't have to be a woman thing, male. I just mean,
Bingo.
Freaking anything.
So now you have to figure, okay, well, where is the biggest leak? Just find where the biggest leak is and stop that. And then you write the domino. So for me, when I decided like 10 years ago, I was like, man, I need to save money. I couldn't fucking save a fucking dime. Until finally I just figured it out. I'm like, oh man, wait a second. I'm eating out every single meal. So the domino was never leave home without a lunch kit full of food. Now you always see me. You always see me with a lunch kit.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was built 10 years ago. Because what I figured out was, oh my God, if I just leave the house with a lunch kit full of food, I never buy food.
Yeah. And you're setting yourself up for that success right there.
Right from the get-go. Because if we just do in the low end $20 a day, okay, let's just say I only ate out 5 days a week, which I don't. It's more. It's $100 a week. So that's $400 a month I just saved just like that.
Yeah, I was going to say it's probably about $4 or $5 grand.
Boom! You just saved $4 or $5 grand. 100%. What can you do with $4 or $5 grand? I think
don't complain. You can't take a vacation.
Done. So 100%. That's the domino.
Yeah.
And so that's what we teach in the Launchpad. And for you, you had a forced domino. Well, how are you going to take life seriously? Oh, yeah. How are you going to start a business?
Yeah.
I'll tell you how you don't start a business. What you're going to do is fuck the business. You have kids. You better figure out how to put food on the table.
But like, it made me think though, and putting the food on the table, this is how you guys can relate to it out there for the painting aspect of it, that I knew that my domino really before even the kid, well, not before that, but knowing that if I wanted to succeed, it was like, okay, I gotta get 100% amazing at this craft.
You got it.
It's the only thing that's going to solve all these dominoes. Bang, bang, bang. It's going to solve this. It's going to solve that. It's going to solve that. It's going to solve this. And that was it for me, folks. So, I mean, it might be the same thing for you, you know, like, doesn't matter. Even if you're not a painter, even if you're listening to this and whatever, maybe you sell shoes online.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's all about what's going to help you get to that next level in terms of what you want out of that business, right?
Bingo.
So that's great advice, man, the domino effect. But yeah, I mean, you got to want it still, man. You really got to want it.
And that's why you have to know where you're going. It has to be something big that you want, that you'll fight for. Because if not, you're going to give up and it's not going to matter.
Which a lot of people do.
Which everyone does, because
I think is a partially energy too. Because I think people are just finally just like, man, I'm so tired of, man, I've set so many dominoes up and I'm just tired. It's like, well, yeah, because you're like 280 pounds and you know what I mean? And you could probably be in a lot better shape and eating better, you know? And I'm not saying that I'm not perfect, but I just know my limit. And I knew that I'd have to be in somewhat good shape, especially doing my job, right?
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely,
you know, I'm not a stunner, but at the same time, I know that I can get up on ladders still. I can still do what I need to do.
100%.
I was fortunate, fortunate enough to had a really early start to my career. So that helped a lot. You know, like in 10 years, well, you know, Lindsay got pregnant and then that was just like, get your ass to work and figure it all out.
I'll throw one thing at you. You say it's fortunate now. 15 years ago, it could, you know, any other person in that position might be, I'm fucking cursed. Life is over.
Yeah, I just definitely, so that's probably another thing in there too, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's frame of mind.
It is 100%.
I never.
It's why every single major sports organization on the planet and every single sport all have psychologists. Performance psychologist.
That's what that Brendan Burchard guy was saying when he did interview like Olympic athletes, like Formula One race car drivers. Like, what is it that you do that sets you apart? What helps you? And they said they just imagine themselves doing visualization. They just imagine themselves already doing it. And you know what was great about that book? I was like ticking them off. I was like, fuck yeah. I was like, I already do this. Sweet. I was looking for the gem in that book that was like, how do I do exactly like he says? The book sort of starts out, I mean, you guys should read it, but it mostly got my attention because he's interviewing or helping this lady, coaching this CEO who's done amazing things in her job, especially being a woman. Mm-hmm. And she says, she's like, I got everything. I got the 6 figures. I got the mansion. I got this, like that. But still, I just wasn't completely happy. You know what I mean? So that's a scary thing to me. And I felt like I was sort of going there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I didn't need any help. Eventually I just got there and I was like, oh man, you know what I mean? Like, what do I do now? So like having the visual, which is that what you
visualization.
Said? The visualization. I pictured myself already being there. Like I said, it was never like, man, what if I don't succeed? It was more like, when I do succeed, it'll be like this. And I do that even when if I just go play hockey and play
Mm-hmm.
shinny, because I always feel way better when I feel like, even though nobody's watching, that if somebody was watching, you perform different, at least in my mind, right?
Well, this really goes back to what you asked about. Like the wife just goes on a path and just goes on it. Literally goes on a war path, and we just make her way. Well, we're missing a few steps, but that's what really encapsulates a high performance, a hell of a performance, right? It's, you know your shit, you did your studying, you have the repetitions in. It's something you enjoy, because you learn something way faster if you enjoy it. That's a little sprinkle of a secret. We can learn, but you learn stuff way faster in topics that you enjoy.
100%.
Way faster to learn a Call of Duty level when we're playing it than if we gave you a map of the Calgary sewers and said, here, memorize this. We'd be like, oh, God, it's going to take forever.
100%.
Right?
I would totally agree with that. But some people aren't happy in what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, what do they do?
I'm not sure if they're not happy or they're not aligned.
That's a good point.
Because if you're aligned, it kind of goes back to what we're talking about here, right? If you're aligned, again, you don't have to love your job, but you have to know where you're going, right? You have to know what's next.
Yeah.
And therefore, when you know what's next, you know that, okay, I have to know how to do this, because no matter what this is, it's going to lead me to what's next. Yeah. I have to be a very good customer service agent, because whatever I'm doing next, this is all going to be a part of it. Everything I'm doing right now it's a gift. It's great experience. It's great exposure.
So be thankful.
Be thankful for it. And that's the superpower. Is another part is the gratitude.
Yeah, there was one thing in that's 100%.
That has to be one.
And he said, ask yourself all the time what you're thankful for, and you will actually really start to see a lot of clarity in that for yourself.
I haven't even read the damn book.
Sorry, man. You're not even going to have to. Fucking send it back. I'll tell it all to you. Right? But like I said,
these are the fundamentals.
It helped me because, like I said, I wasn't trying to be arrogant, but I just started going through the book and ticking all the stuff off that I was like, man, I already freaking got all this stuff. But I'm like, where's that info in there? And I think it did come down really more to the clarity and the gratitude, because it's like, dude, you've already done like good things for yourself. If you want more things, figure out what they are, write them down.
Exactly.
Do exactly like you said, set those dominoes up, and then, use the energy and use all that stuff to bring you there, all the while already imagining you're already there.
Bingo. All high performance habits are the exact same. Doctor, chef, mother of the year, fucking the best lawnmower, the best janitor, the best bus driver, the best musician, the best painter, or even at least in your life, if you've latched onto something at this part in your life, you said, I'm going to kick ass at this. Well, all those habits are the same. It also works the same way if you're really good at something that's bad. If you're very bad at using drugs, all the habits are the same. You wake up, you know exactly what you want, you're going to go for it. You're already seeing yourself using it. You know exactly what it's going to feel like, right? You're already telling yourself you will do whatever it takes to get that drug. All the habits are the exact same.
Yeah, no doubt.
You're already visualizing like how you're going to get it. You're visualizing schemes of where you're going to succeed, but it's not a terrible thing. All the habits are the same.
Yeah, that's very true. And I actually never thought about it that way, because it is very true.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people, if they need that shit, they go and get it somehow.
Yeah. And of course, we're using extremes because
it is an extreme,
helps
but
paint.
But it's like you said, high performers are extreme a little bit, right?
And honestly, if we go into like, well, you're talking extremes, like that's a fucking crackhead and this is a fucking millionaire, whatever. But it's like, no. Well, if you want a boring life because you think that you don't deserve anything better, or you keep telling yourself, you keep visualizing all these reasons why you don't deserve something. Well, I'll just go home and just hide in my house and just watch my shows and this and this and that and that. It's fine if that's what you're doing. If that's what you aim to do and that's what you want to do, go ahead. But if you're sulking and you hate it and you're bored and you don't understand why you're not where you want to be, it's because you're doing the exact same habits.
Yeah.
But you're just programming that into yourself.
Yeah.
You wake up, you tell yourself why you're bored. You tell yourself why the day's going to suck. You go and you visualize why everyone hates you. You visualize why you hate Sally or why you hate that fucker Jeff.
Or if it even just comes down to, like, we're talking with the growth of the company or whatever it might be. If you hate specific things or if you even hate that job on its own, you got to change that mind frame, man. And probably not saying to these people, well, just quit. Like, any painters out there, like, honestly, I didn't grow up to imagine that I was going to be a painter. And let's be honest, it wasn't always the best, but I did see the value in it. That I had the clarity in it from the beginning to be like, this probably could be something. But I think it was Abraham Lincoln that said, you're only as happy as you make your mind up to be.
I haven't heard that one, but man, that is.
And when I heard, and it kind of is like what you're saying, right? It all depends on where you put your energy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to help people really grow, it comes down to them too. But it is just one system, man.
It's one system to rule them all.
But the important system, probably.
It's the fundamentals.
Yeah.
It is the fundamentals. Yeah. Performance all starts
with you.
Yeah. And then from there on, once you understand how to perform at a high level, you can perform at anything at a high level.
Definitely. So maybe a little recap then, not to make this too confusing, because I do really want, because I have had people reach out to me online that are saying to themselves, like, or to me, hey man, I've been doing this for about a year. How do I grow and get to the next level? So we've gone over different systems, right? Systems that you can implement into your company that can help you. If, hire out, that was one thing we talked about, right? You yourself, employees, and then ultimately now, like we're saying, your mind frame, right? Because like you said, doesn't just come down to you and your body, because like you could wake up every morning at 5 a.m. and don't mean shit, right? So it's really knowing how to use yourself to take your company or whatever it is to the next level. So any other books that you might, that High Performance Habits by Brendan Burchard, that was a good one for me. Any other books that you might have read or any other information you might want to?
Yeah, I would start reading, especially because I find a lot of people don't read. It took me a long time to read myself.
That's a true one. And nothing against the trades, guys, but I have found that there is still a little bit of an old school mentality in the trade world. Yeah. Which is okay. Because it's the foundation, but it's like you said, man, just read and better yourself, even if it's not about painting or drywall or selling purses or shoes. Just
honestly,
read.
The easiest way I found to read was just to start with either like really short books, just to kind of get your mind back into it. But the easiest way I found was to actually read, because audiobooks is definitely the hack. But read about your heroes. Just read about people that you idolize, whether it's artists that you loved, or the business person that you admire most, or the president, or the Mahatma Gandhi, or an athlete, whatever.
I heard mentors is a big one. Have like somebody that you can look up to, that can possibly mentor you. Talk to them once a month, ask them questions and get them to really like help you. Hey.
Yes.
Oh,
here's the caveat. I find it's probably very biased, but I find that a lot of people who want to ask for a mentor, but if you're not in the right place yet, you're gonna burn that relationship so fast.
Yeah, you know what? Because I think you're absolutely right about that.
There's just your habits aren't quite there.
I don't think I would ever go and ask me like, hey, could you be my mentor? But eventually, I think life and the way it ends up kind of taking you that route a little bit, because I can see where you're coming from, because it was like a long time ago I was thinking about taking like vocal classes and getting a vocal coach. I didn't think my voice was that bad, but it was more just, get better, and actually I had a lot of people that were like, no, dude, don't do that. And I was like, well, why? Well, because you don't want to have that person mold you slightly into what they see as a good singer.
Right.
Because with something like that, it's like it's all about you. You know what I mean? As a singer. And I was like, so do you think that could happen with a mentor?
Absolutely. And I think that's also part of the joy of learning as a mentee is, okay, that's their style. That's
a mentee. Teaching. Is that what it is? Huh?
Yeah.
Nice.
Right. And like, I'll go to a coach, I'll kind of learn from them, and I'll be, okay, well, these are the parts that I think are really applicable. And these are the parts I don't think are as applicable to either my style, my whatever. I'll be completely open. But I think that's a great part of seeking help and seeking experience. Just make sure that you're going to be committed.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You're very committed. When you ask
100%.
Somebody for help, more important, when you ask somebody for their time, you better respect that time.
Yeah, don't be a douche,
Because I bet you, especially now, how many people ask you, hey, can I just take a minute of your time? Hey, can I get you on a phone call? Hey, can I just take you for coffee? Hey, I get so many people that do that now, and I'm extremely busy, but I want to give back, and if I follow you, and I always cheer for people, right? Just like we always cheer for the underdog,
absolutely.
Which I fucking hate because it's such a terrible thing because they 9 out of 10 times let you down. But
more than likely, I'm very careful.
But that's the thing I would say to everyone now is like, man, don't ask for somebody's time and then not show up.
Yeah.
And do not cancel at the last minute. Don't show up late. But definitely don't fucking stand the person up. Like, these people are very, very busy, and and that's what I mean. Like, they're not ready yet. They don't understand the value of time. They just want I just want the shortcut. Just tell me what to do.
But that's today's day and age right now, I think, man. It's like they just want the information right now. They don't want to have to actually work for it, I guess. I mean, it's a tough one. I you know what? I can't speak for it. I have people that, I think I would call them my mentors. I've never actually been like, hey man, you be my mentor, but it's definitely helped me.
Yeah, well, I think
from the sidelines.
For the painters out there, like, man, the fastest way is obviously to find a mentor. A good mentor is somebody who actually cares for your well-being, is candid, and will call you no shit.
And when you say mentor, more for somebody on the business side to get your mind in the game, or for whatever you need, right? In any way.
Anyone that you see is that's having massive success in the field or the area that you want help in. But just don't waste their time. You'll burn that relationship so fast when you ask for help and then you don't show up, and they show up. It's like they're gonna look at you like just shaking their head.
You're not ready for it.
Are you serious, man? I've been I see it lost, but lately for me, I just feel once you cancel on me, you'll never get another meeting with me ever again. It's so ridiculous. So for all you guys out there, like, man, go for the mentor, find the systems, strive for it, fight for it. Just don't waste people's time.
No, because it's the same as you. You wouldn't want that to happen to you, right? So, but like you just said, better yourselves, find a mentor. These are all things you guys can do as painters that can really help you grow your company to the next step.
Without a doubt.
Definitely.
Without a doubt.
You know what I think it is too? One more little thing, because we should probably get this wrapped up here, but don't be old school arrogant.
Yes.
I think that's huge in the paint world. And I'm going to say that right now on mic, get it on record, that fuck guys, like, keep an open mind.
Yes.
Grow. Because I think what a lot of guys, they don't want to. They're scared. Maybe not. They're not scared of it, or it's going to hurt their pride. But it's like I only got to where I am because I was more than open minded to even have somebody be like, "You suck," and then explain to me all the fucking reasons why I suck, and then me be like, "Oh shit, maybe he's probably right there. He's right there. Okay, let me go fix these fucking things and come back. Boom."
100%.
So 100%. Don't be afraid, guys, to do that. But Donny, much love at Taking Lunch Money.
Yes, that's right.
Boost.ca, right?
Boost.ca.
Check this guy out.
Boost.ca. I'm going to throw this in here because I think by the time that this will air, the launch pad will be ready to go.
Absolutely,
so if you guys actually
look into that.
For everyone out there on this podcast, thank you for listening to us. Thank you for inviting me on here. If you guys like some of the personal systems that we talked about, things like, setting the goals, but more importantly, the dominoes, we teach something called, we're going to have something launching very soon called the Launch Pad. It's the 1% challenge. And so it's something that took me 10 years to create. I personally coached this to hundreds and hundreds of agents. I shouldn't call them agents, but team members that we've had massive success on. I've studied this over 100 different books. You walk into that stack of books.
Yeah, that's great.
That's like 10% of the books.
But that's what I was going to say. Sorry, just to add that in there. That's what I think a lot of, at least in the paint game, people don't do. You're on that's a different kind of niche and a different level. Like you guys are in sales, you're in marketing, and it's like normal to have business meetings, to go to like seminars and stuff like that. Yeah, we don't do that shit, right? But when I started, holy crap, did it change a lot of stuff for me, man. A lot.
Absolutely. All the stuff we talked about today, I have it in a program.
That's wicked.
It comes with pretty much all the framework. It comes with the worksheets. It comes with the journal that you'll need to really chart the course, map it out for yourself, keep yourself accountable. Plus, there's going to be a ton of videos that we use where a lot of stuff we talked about today, this was just like 1% of it.
For sure.
Go deep and we break down not just the psychology, but the tools, how you're going to not only just find what you want to do, but more importantly, find the most important thing that you want to knock down, how to build the habits around it, how to build the defense around your brain to protect the habits so you don't fall back into the bad ones, and really how to knock it out of the park this year. So I think we'll have a link for you guys. Probably there's no discount code because we already made it at cost.
Yeah,
just so people can have it.
And if you're wondering like, well, how the fuck does that help me? Well, think about it this way, folks. I had the idea off of seeing something from somebody that I looked up to for this podcast, and then taking that the next step was like, man, how the hell? And really, Donny showed me how to walk through it, writing it down, everything. So I already know this podcast, this show, when you see it, if you're like, man, that must have been a ton of work, but it's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
That was all through the help of Donny. So I can see it. I told him already, as soon as that launch pad's out, I'll be your first fucking customer, man. But I'm just telling you guys, if you see value in that and you really want to grow, these are great things. And this isn't me inviting you on for you to pitch that. This is just me showing you guys that I'm just a normal painter too, who's reached out for help and something that I can do, and I've already used and had a system to help me do it. So Real Paint Talks at PSC. Once again, my home slice, Donny Wong. Thanks so much, buddy, at Taking Lunch Money. Check him out, boost.ca. That's BOOST. Much love, y'all. Stay tuned. Catch us on all platforms coming out real soon, guys, real soon. Real Paint Talks at PSC.